I took in my older sister, who was homeless at the time, but soon after, she began making advances toward my boyfriend. I wanted her out, but she manipulated me into letting her stay. Then she crossed a line that I couldn't forgive. I took her in 6 months ago, and from the moment she moved in, she started flirting with my boyfriend. I've always been insecure about my hip dips, and whenever I wore tight clothes like leggings, she'd point them out to him, asking if he had noticed. She'd also ask me if I wanted to work out with her to improve my figure for him. When she saw she wasn't getting a reaction from him, she started lounging around in short shorts and even bikinis whenever he was around. One day, after she finished bragging about how she once blew some guy's mind, I confronted her. I told her to stop, but she pretended not to know what I was talking about. I interrupted her and said she was fully aware of what she was doing and that both Matt and I were uncomfortable. I didn't want our home to become a circus, so I told her she had better stop. She denied everything, saying bikinis shouldn't make me uncomfortable unless I was insecure. She claimed she'd never go after her sister's boyfriend, especially after I'd helped her when no one else would. I thought about it, and her point seemed logical. Why would she do that? So I dropped the topic. A few days later, though, she was back at it, wearing skimpy clothes. One day, knowing Matt was working from home, she put on a bikini, even though we didn't own a pool. She spent the whole day showing off, bending into odd positions to get things out of the fridge and vacuuming right near Matt. She even brushed against him, apologizing with a wink. I found out about all this because Matt told me when I got home. As the weeks passed, Savannah's behavior worsened. She'd view yoga in the living room, wearing tight, revealing rompers, positioning herself in Matt's line of sight. She'd shower and then walk around in just a bathrobe, claiming she forgot something in the laundry room and asking Matt for help reaching things because she was too short. One night, while Matt and I were having a movie night, Savannah came in wearing a fancy silk robe. She insisted on sitting right next to Matt, even though there was more space by me. She was practically on his lap, asking him to feel how soft her pajamas were. When he tried to move away, she only got closer. My blood was boiling, but I decided to wait until the next day to confront her, so I could enjoy the rest of the night with Matt. The next day, as I was rehearsing what I'd say, Matt called. He told me that while I was at work, Savannah came out of the bathroom in a bikini, dripping wet, and asked if he could tell her Pilates routine was paying off. I rushed home, anger building inside me. Savannah had always flirted with my boyfriends when we were younger, but it never went past social media or texting. But now it felt like history was repeating itself, and I couldn't trust her around Matt. When I got home, I stormed in and demanded an explanation. Savannah played dumb, claiming it was a misunderstanding. She said she was just proud of her gains, but I wasn't buying it. I told her she had to leave. She started crying and apologizing, saying she had nowhere to go and that she'd do anything to stay. Our parents had cut her off when she turned 18, so she couldn't go back to their house. I felt trapped. I agreed to let her stay under the condition that she'd stop wearing bikinis and keep her distance from Matt. She quickly agreed and hugged me, but I knew the trust was gone. For the next few weeks, she kept her word. She dressed modestly and stayed away from Matt. I felt relieved, but deep down, I knew I'd never fully trust her again. Then one day, I overheard her on the phone with a friend, talking about how fine Matt was and how I had threatened to kick her out when she was finally getting close to him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but I didn't confront her right away. Soon after, she started wearing skimpy clothes again and pulling her old tricks in the laundry room, dropping her towel in front of Matt. He immediately called me to tell me what had happened. When I walked in, she apologized, claiming it was an accident, but I was livid. Matt reassured me that he wasn't falling for her games, and that conversation made me feel better. But I knew I had to get her out of the house. A week later, while I was at work, Matt called to tell me she'd done it again. This time, she'd bent down right in front of him after dropping her towel. She even joked that since he'd seen her naked, it was only fair for him to return the favor. I rushed home, enraged. When I got there, Savannah was already trying to twist the story, claiming Matt had been the one making advances, but I trusted him, and I told her to leave immediately. She begged to stay, but I was done. Her being in our home was destroying my mental health and my relationship with Matt. She crossed the line for the last time. I threatened to call the police if she didn't leave, and after an hour, she was gone. The next morning, I finally felt a sense of relief. Matt and I were alone again, and life returned to normal. A couple of weeks later, Savannah called from a blocked number, apologizing and begging for another chance. She said she'd changed, but I told her our relationship would never be the same. When she realized I wasn't going to budge, she started talking about how she had to move into a shelter and couldn't find a job. She said I didn't understand her struggles and accused me of always having it easy. I stayed silent, but eventually I told her never to call me again and hung up the phone.